OTT has changed the perception of cinema for audiences, So I think cinema is getting better and better. In India, it's getting better and better. I mean, if, I just saw Bheer, it's getting better. It's getting more real. Performances are getting better. I have not made a film in India since Bandit Queen, but now I really want to come back and make a film. This is Shekhar Kapur, and you're watching me on Mirchi Plus.
Hi, this is Samina Shaikh here on Mirchi Plus, and with me today, I have the ace director, Shekhar Kapur, welcoming him on Mirchi Plus.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
I've been quite falling in love, I must say that, after watching your movie. And I think that is the kind of old school romance which was missing, on big screen since a very long time. I watched the film. I really liked it the moment I saw it. And there were different cultures, different conversations taking place. So tell me about your project, how was it working on this one?
It was a script sent to me by the same people that had produced Elizabeth and Golden Age with me. It's big, and it was written by Jemima Khan. So the first script that was sent to me, I kind of liked it. I liked this idea. I also liked the way that Jemima Khan was more exploring than actually write. Sometimes you get scripts and then you have nothing to do as a director. You just shoot the script and then I won't do it. What am I doing? But here was a script that allowed the director and the actors a lot of spaces to interpret it. And that's what I liked. And then we sat down. And actually what I normally do is I just get actors, not necessarily the cast, to read, to understand how it works. And then we went into COVID happened. So for 2 years, nothing happened. And finally we said, well, let's do it. And I remember coming to London and shooting the film when people were dying in ambulances. And so it was probably the fastest I've ever shot a film, in a way, because I never knew I might go down with COVID. People were dying. And in that whole context, we shot this film. So it was it was very special that way, very special and a bit frightening.
Also, at the same time, so, when it comes to love, what is your meaning or definition for love? What are your thoughts on that?
You really want to know?
Yes.
Well, I see love as a mystery, as a great mystery. I see that if you are not, as long as you're longing and yearning and keep it very mysterious, it is not something that you say, TK. Most films and rom-coms and things, at the end, everybody says, TK. They dash to the airport, airport pe wo khada hai, they're still staying there. And then they suddenly meet and they live happily ever after. This idea of love happens and then you live ever after, I don't agree with. I think that whether you're searching or longing for your soulmate or your partner, or you found one, every day when you wake up, if you don't find mystery in your partner, if you don't long for it, if you have no yearning, just because you're there and you come, it has to be yearning. Otherwise, love is over. It's the same with life. If there's no more yearning for life, life's over, right? So it's a constant longing, and there are no full stops. Love is always ... It's right, it's ... After all, then also, when you are in love with somebody, they become a reflection of you. So in order to say, Acha, now I found love, I know my partner very well, it's all going to be hunky-dory. It's like saying, oh, now I know myself. Arey, wo to Buddha ko bhi nahi malum tha. What are you talking about, So it's, I find this fascinating. Love is the most used word in the world. It's the most abused word in the world, but it's also the most wonderful word that we've ever heard. It's a mystery, a longing, a yearning. It's so my very long definition to you of love. Yeah.
So what's your take on the modern day love, right now, when you see the type of love which you notice right now, what is your take on that?
Well, it's not changed. Love has not changed. For centuries, love is the same thing. How we find a partner has changed. So that's what the film's about. And the film doesn't tell you what's the best way. It says you have to find the best way for yourself. I was quite fascinated with the dating apps, and I was quite fascinated with this idea that you could have casual sex with people, you can have dating apps. And in that idea, somewhere you will find somebody that is your partner and the person that you are comfortable with being intimate with and can fall in love with. Or so I'm fascinated that people do that, So I was wanting to explore in this, the main character is addicted to dating apps. And it's for her, it becomes confusing, but not necessarily. I've heard people who found love in dating apps. So I think there's a greater amount of freedom of choice, right? We never used to have that kind of choice. Now there's so much choice in the finding of partners, of exploration of partners, of exploration of sexuality. And basically, we're not exploring sexuality, we're exploring intimacy, because to be intimate is a fundamental human need. Right from the time when you were born, your first act of intimacy is they give you to the mother and the mother holds you. It's a great act of intimacy. So it's how do you find intimacy? How do you find love? And in the modern world, the big difference is that there's so much choice. You can choose, and there's no morality about it.
And that reminds me, you also revealed, in earlier days, you would go to a park, you would make, you would have, tuning with music and all, and that is how the love would develop, with your partners for that matter. Coming to today's, day, it's just a swipe in, it's like, swipe left, swipe right. Do you feel that love has been a bit lost in today's, scenario?
Well, it's not that after swipe, you don't go to the park. What do you do after swipe? You still go. I remember my first time as a teenager, or maybe I first fell in love. And we were walking in the park, we were just talking, and my hand brushed against her hand. And I thought that the universe has exploded. So to me, just touching and holding the hand at that time. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It's just that, so you can go and swipe as much as you want. How do you take it from there? It's up to you. It's up to you. But also remember one of the things, it's freed up women to make choice. You remember that all of us, we used to say, the girl should be shy, the man should be the pursue the girl, and then she should constantly, like in Hindi cinema, we constantly used to be like that. Now the girl has the choice also, and that's great. So it's a great act of freedom for women, that they can actually swipe and decide this. So the decision now is equal. That's one thing that's changed hugely.
That's great to hear. And at the same time, sir, you try to show different cultures, in your movie as well. It's British versus, say, a Pakistani, family, and how their cultures are different, but yet they unite. If you have to, spill some beans on that.
Listen, for me, the great thing I wanted to do was the fact that, in my view, when this film is now being shown all over the world, when I had the first showing for my cast and crew, 3 young people came to me and said, my God, and they were British, Spanish, and Scottish. English, Spanish, and Scottish. All 3 said, my God, my grandmother is exactly like that. Right? So one of the great things about this film that I'm recognizing, which is what I was trying to do, is to say that we have a common culture worldwide. Worldwide, families are the same. The desire to be with the family is the same. The effect of, let's say, Nani Jan in this film, or the grandmother, is the same. So it's not one culture. The fact is, as you go into the film, everywhere, whether you're Spanish or Italian or Jewish in New York, who have been calling me and said, oh my God, Jewish families are just like that. Chinese families are just like that. So it's a culture that is worldwide, and that's what's so fascinating. And remember, there was also one thing I knew that I was hoping for, is that we came out of COVID, we've forgotten to express love, we've forgotten to hug. And I knew that one of the things is that we rediscover.
But also, sir, there was this one dialogue which I really loved when the actor says to the actress, there's a huge difference between 47 and 49. And that was quite impactful. It was a very subtle way of, expressing certain things, to him and to her actually. And that I think was quite good. Do you also feel that, maybe, if you leave all these things on side, the cultural differences, it's only love which blossoms the most if we just, let go of all these things?
Well, it's not that easy to let go of all these things. But what this film says, you got to keep trying. You got to keep trying. You've got to learn. That's why I say, love is a dot, dot, dot. It's never a full stop or a comma. No, it's, and I love you, dot, 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 dot. But it's got to be, it's a constant working at it. And yeah, it's a brilliant dialogue. Actually, Jemima Khan wrote that. And it is true. I lived in London for a long time as a student. I saw it. I saw it all. I saw the fact that there is a big difference between being British and being kind of British. There's a big difference. And that two lines in that film happens to me still. I'm the one that if I'm standing in line and everybody else is white, I'm the one that's kind of pulled out to say, oh, sir, yeah, you just came in the number and pulled out. It'll take a long time. It'll take a long time for all cultures to accept a sense of equality, but we need to get there. If we are to understand each other, we need to get there. And that's why I'm glad that this film is bringing all of that out. But the culture is the same. It's the same. I mean, I know friends of mine in New York who are, Jewish families everywhere. But if you look at other films, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Greeks were the same. Crazy Rich Asians in Singapore, the Chinese and the Singaporeans were the same thing. Yeah. And, but the one thing that this film does is everything is real. All this is a film with performances. Within this genre, the performances are real, and that's unusual in a rom-com. For every performance, whether it's Shabana's or Lily James or Sajal's or the guy, it's the performances are always real.
So that's nice to hear. And at the same time, there have been rumors about Mr. India, and you have chosen not to, make a sequel to it. What led to this decision of yours?
Well, I've never made the same. I've constantly, right from, say, Masoom to Mr. India, to Four Feathers with Heath Ledger, to Elizabeth with Kate Blanchett, and Golden Age, and all the series I've done overseas. I've never repeated genres, never. Because there's a fundamental fear that if I repeat a film or I repeat a genre, I will never be that childlike. I can't. Because you got, it's like a child goes and plays with something that the child doesn't know. There's a sense of wonder and a sense of, so when I made Mr. India, in fact, I used to have an 11-year-old mini-me sitting next to me all the time. And every time I would do a shot, I would ask mini-me, what do you think? And the mini-me said, "Arey, it's so boring." So I said, "Oh no." So what do I do now? So if you repeat the genre, I mean, how can I ever make another genre like Bandit Queen? I have to change it. Otherwise, I'll be making a Bandit Queen again and again. So you have to approach everything as if you've never done it before. And that's what provokes creativity. People ask me, so what are the three greatest words? Do you have three words to describe creativity? And I say, yeah, I know. What? I don't know. You have to start every creative act with these three words. I don't know. And so my fear of making Mr. India to myself is, but I do know. I've done it before, so how do I do it? That's why I don't want to do it.
That's actually a very good take to it, basically in knowing, and then, just trying to spoil the thing is not something which is required. And I feel like maybe that is quite important. But at the same time, do you believe that, maybe remakes should be something which should not be, considered, because, the movie already had an impact for that matter. And one should avoid, trying to, spoil that what is already, been stored for people out there.
I don't think so. I mean, listen, unfortunately, we don't have, Amrish is gone, Sridevi is gone. Now, sadly, Satish Kaushik is gone. So we don't have the same actors as Calendar or Miss Abawai or Mogambo. So somebody has to come in and adapt. If you have to make a Mr. India 2, they have to rewrite it because it's become legend. I remember Amrishi once before he passed away, he said, "यार तूने मेरा career बर्बाद कर दिया." मैंने कहा, "क्यों?" He said, "यार जहां जाता हूँ एक डायलॉग मांगते हैं, मैं खुश हुआ, मुझ में और कुछ नहीं है क्या?" He was laughing, but it's just become legendary, you know. It's the most watched film. Always people are constantly watching it. So somebody has to come in and make something different, you know, something different characters, different ideas with the same kind of joy. What Mr. India does give people is because we made the film with joy. That joy keeps coming up, you know. So somebody has to make something with joy, but you can't take the same characters. No.
So, what are your upcoming projects you're working on? And at the same time, what do you have to say about the cinema today? The kind of projects being made, you know, right now, and the kind of films which has been, made right now in the cinema, for that matter, OTT, or say even women-centric films. You know, what are your thoughts on that and your upcoming projects? The last question I would like to know.
Well, obviously, Paani is always going to be one more upcoming project, and there's a new project that I'm just about to doing with, which I because it's under wraps, I can't tell you. I really like the way cinema, and if it's about India, what OTT has done has cautioned everybody. Look, so because everybody with a good story and great performances will go into OTT, and then we realize that unless OTT has changed the perception of cinema for audiences, you know. So I think cinema is getting better and better. In India, it's getting better and better. I mean, if, you know, I just saw Bheer, it's getting better. It's getting more real. Performances are getting better. You know, I have not made a film in India since Bandit Queen, but now I really want to come back and make a film. Yeah.
So are you expecting any surprises over here, this side?
Of course. If there are no surprises, there's no life. There's no mystery. There is mystery, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would be looking forward to that, since you don't want to reveal it right now and it's under wraps. But it was lovely chatting with you and to know love, you know, from a different perspective, from a director perspective, for that matter. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Goodbye. Nice talking to you.
Thank you.